Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, Nightmare Knight. Yeah, I know. It's been like a month, hasn't it? Um, so I'm back. It's Christmas. I got new headphones. I think the audio is coming through those. So if it sounds better, let me know, because I know my audio has been really bad in past videos, but this seems to be an improvement. It legitimately does. So, I was looking for something to do because my family is doing things and I don't like people, so I decided I would just come to my house, away from my family, and record instead of doing things with my family, like a normal person would on Christmas. Um, so, what I have found here today is an article on a website that I'm not going to even try to pronounce the name of. I will link it in the description if I remember to, but it is called Top 10 Most Common Atheist Arguments and Why They Fail. Yes, that's right. This is somebody refuting the most common atheist arguments. I don't know where they got the statistics out of that say these are the most common, but they say these are the most common. So I'm going to give a go at refuting their arguments against these arguments. Um, and since there are 10, and this is very, very long-winded, I'm going to split this into two parts, I think. Part 1 will cover the first 5, and part 2 will cover the second 5, and I will probably release them on, hopefully, Christmas Day and New Year's Day, if that's if that goes to plan. So it is written by somebody by the name of Eric Hyde. And it was written on the 31st of March, 2014. So this is an old one. I might see if this person has written anything new since that I can argue against. But for now, this is a pretty old thing, and I want to refute it. And this is specifically an Orthodox thing. It's an Orthodox website, not Catholicism. Or Protestantism. It is Orthodox Christianity. The ones that I don't know what Orthodox were. I can't remember the difference. It's been a long time since I've had a religion class in school. Um, so I'm going to skip the intro and get right into the points because I have already fucked around and not said anything meaningful for almost 3 minutes. So before we hit 3 minute mark, let's go. Point number 1. There is no evidence for God's existence. Now, personally, this is the argument I would use because it is their burden to prove God exists. Right, before I get into this, I'm going to explain why I think this is valid, and I'm sure why you will all agree with me, unless you are one of the people who watch videos like this to be a dick in the comments and try to tell me I'm wrong, even though, as far as I'm concerned, you're wrong. Difference in opinion is allowed, and I know that I'm being a dick, but try to be a dick back, okay? Okay, be a dick back. It'll be funny. I can respond to your comment. Find out why you're a dick. Um, okay. Why I think this is valid. I get sidetracked a lot, sorry. Okay. There is no evidence for God's existence. This is a fact, right? I have not seen any evidence. If you can present me with evidence that is not just sunsets, I will be happy to admit that you are right, or at least that your argument has slightly more validity than it had before. But the thing is, you will often try to shift the thing onto me and say, okay, well, where is your proof for atheism? Where's your proof that there's no God? And it's stupid. It's really stupid to think that, because, duh. If you told me that there is a leprechaun in my bedroom, but he can't be seen or felt, um, he's just there, and I have to trust you, because there's no evidence that he's there, I'm going to assume there's no leprechaun. It's an outrageous claim, and I can't believe it without evidence. Whereas if you said, there is a force holding me to the ground so I don't float away, and it is also why apples fall if I pick them up and let them go, I will believe that because that's not a pretty outrageous claim, and you've just supplied me with the evidence that the apple falls and that I don't float away, right? Gravity. Perfectly acceptable claim, not outrageous at all, right? Leprechaun. That I cannot see or feel. Pretty fucking outrageous claim. So, you know, same applies to God as with the leprechaun. But anyway, getting sidetracked with my own personal things, let's see what this asshole has to say. There are a couple of problems with this line, starting with the idea of evidence. Oh boy, here it goes. What exactly does one mean by evidence? What is sufficient evidence for one person is often not sufficient evidence for another. Okay, but the thing is, right? If you bring me irrefutable proof that your God exists, I will have no choice but to believe you. Evidence that I cannot argue against and is so concrete that I have to believe you, and that science doesn't have a better explanation for. Okay? If there is no better explanation, right, I'm a firm believer that, Occam's razor here, right? The most likely explanation is probably the right one. It's not a hard concept to grasp, right? And if I were told, right, either the Earth was created 6,000 years ago, all over the course of 7 days, everything started out as one little fucking thing made of pure energy that became everything else that exists now, right? And that just sort of popped into being one day, or a fully aware, fully physical creature came into existence, created said ball of energy, and then proceeded to let that expand into the universe that we have now. Well, for the first one, I have evidence that can refute that. Fossils, and carbon dating, and light from stars, and how physics works. Literally, the speed of light is a perfect refutation of creationism, right? Those stars are far enough away that the light wouldn't be at us yet if we had only been here for 6,000 years. Also, we have history, physical records. I'm quite certain we have accounts of societies that existed before 6,000 years ago. There were people, there were animals. We have physical evidence that the world has existed for much longer than that. So that one's just straight away gone. That's not an option anymore. That a God created something, right, is what modern Christians, moderate modern Christians believe, that don't believe creationism. They believe that God created that little thing that went on to become everything, right? But that's essentially just option B with extra steps, right? And it takes a significantly larger leap in logic to go from a little ball of practically nothing popped into existence one day and expanded into the universe than to say a fully aware, fully sentient, fully living creature popped into existence one day and then created that thing that became everything. Right? It's just from those options. B, the Big Bang Theory, that idea is the most reasonable of them all, and therefore most likely correct. So, it's sufficient evidence when it's reasonable evidence, and I cannot refute it with a better explanation, essentially. This whole paragraph is essentially just the same thing. Okay, and then it says, it's as G.K. Chesterton once said, asking a Christian to prove God's existence is like asking someone to prove the existence of a civilization. What is one to do but point and say, look, there's a chair, and there's a building, etc. Right? Thing is, no. Get censuses, get physical accounts of that city, get civilization, bones, remains of the people that lived there, evidence of buildings. Buildings are perfect evidence of that sort of thing, right? If you can show me that there was a place where buildings were made and people lived, that was likely a civilization of some kind, right? It's not that hard. Show me the physical evidence that there is a god, right? Next paragraph here. Nearly everything the Christian lays eyes on is proof of God's existence because he sees the handiwork of God all around him in creation. Again, saying sunsets are pretty is not a valid argument that your God exists. Okay? I want physical, hard evidence. Right? I don't know why you don't understand this. For the Christian, who believes in a transcendent God, he can offer no such evidence, referring to physical evidence that can be seen or touched or smelled. To produce material evidence for God is, ironically, to disprove a transcendent God and cast out faith. Okay, so in other words, you can't prove your God, because if you proved him, you would be disproving him. See, to me, that sounds like you're just giving an absolute cop-out. You're not giving an argument for your God. You're giving an argument as to why you can't prove your God. And you're trying to say, I can't prove my God, but I'm right because you can't disprove my God. If you can't prove it, then I'm afraid you can't assume it exists. I can't prove that the tooth fairy is real, right? That doesn't mean I have to assume the tooth fairy is real. It means I assume the tooth fairy isn't real. Is that difficult to comprehend? The second part of the line is equally short-sighted. What does one mean by existence? If one means that which has come into existence, then surely God does not exist, because God never came into existence. Okay, you literally just said your God doesn't exist. You literally just said that. Sorry, I'm standing up. I don't know if that's going to affect the audio quality. These are wireless headphones. Right. I'll sit back down. Right. That which has come into existence, right, is not the definition of existence. Okay? You don't use the definition, right? You don't use a word in the definition of that word, right? Uh, like, I couldn't, if somebody asked me to define Scientology, I couldn't say, Scientology is the religion known as Scientology. That's not a definition, that's a vague description. Here, I'm going to Google the definition of existence. Just. Sorry about this. Define existence. Yes, thank you, Google. Right? Now, personally, I would say things that exist. Yes, here. The fact or state of living or having objective reality. Okay? Exist does not mean to come into existence does not mean to come into existence. Right? Existence means to have a presence, to be real. We want evidence that your God is real, objectively real. If you took 2 seconds to look at the definition of existence, you'd know why your argument falls apart at this. It's not that we're phrasing it wrong, it's that you don't know what the words mean. And honestly, seeing as you're a Christian, I'm assuming that's just because you're illiterate. But that got mean for a second. I'm not going to apologize, though, because you're an idiot. Okay, right. Here's more on this. He always was. He is eternal. This was a famous assessment of the matter by Soren Kierkegaard. Not bothered to pronounce that. Uh, the argument is a bit involved, so for time's sake, I'll just have to state it and leave it there. That's dealing with the incarnation of Christ. Right. I'm just gonna put very, very simply. Based on our understanding of reality, nothing just always exists. Our universe didn't even always exist, right? Now, granted, based on our current understanding of how the universe works, we don't know if time is a thing outside of our universe, or space for that matter. Well, that was almost a pun. Space for that matter. But anyway, but what the fuck was I saying? Oh, right. You can't just say that your God always existed, and then use that as an argument as to fucking why you can't just. You're not even arguing the fucking point. You are literally not arguing the fucking point. You are arguing a point that nobody is saying. You are changing definitions with the sole intent of using loopholes to get around stuff. You know what that makes you? Because I'll give you a hint. It doesn't make you intelligent. It makes you a fucking moron. A disingenuous moron. But a moron nonetheless. Okay, point two. Oh my god, we're fucking 17 or so minutes into the video and we're only on point two. Right, this is gonna be a fucking long one. Thankfully that was the longest point in the whole thing, so hopefully this will be quicker and I'll try not to go on as much. Point two. If God created the universe, who created God? This is one of the more peculiar arguments I've come across. Those who use this charge as some sort of intellectual checkmate have simply failed to grasp what Christians understand as eternal. No, it just means that they have a firm understanding that, based on your belief, the universe has to be created, and therefore there has to be a creator. But for your creator to exist, therefore, by that logic, he would have to have been created. Even if you made the argument that he was self-created, that would be more valid than saying he always existed. Even if you simply said, time is circular and at the end of your god's life cycle he creates himself again. When your god dies, he makes himself in his earliest state, and then that is how he comes into existence. He is a constant loop of existence. That would be more valid than saying he always existed, because at least then it would sound stupid, but it would work at the very least. Saying he always existed doesn't work. So, right. Yeah, basically, they're just saying the same thing over and over. And then it says, God is the antecedent. Not sure what that means, which makes me feel stupid. I'm not even gonna bother looking up. Antecedent of all things in creation and is eternal. I'm assuming it means creator, something like that. Whatever. If God had a creator, then his creator would be God. God is God precisely because he does not have a creator. No. Just no. I mean, no. Clearly you don't know what God means. I mean, you would still be your God, even if he had a creator, right? He's the thing you believe in that created the universe, right? I mean, look at Greek gods. They are still considered gods, even though literally none of the Greek gods were self-created or eternally existent. They were created by being the offspring of titans or other gods. They didn't just poof into existence one day or something like that. Clearly you don't know what God means. It's just a deity you fucking worship. That's all God is. A very powerful or all-powerful creature that is capable of things like creating humans. 3. God is not all-powerful if there is something he cannot do. God cannot lie, therefore God is not all-powerful. Okay, this one is just a definition of a straw man. I would not argue this, because personally I don't believe in your God, therefore I don't believe your God cannot lie. If anything, I believe that it would be stupid to say your God cannot lie. Your God totally could lie if he existed. And then you just go on to basically say he doesn't want to lie. Why is he good? Because he wants to be good. Why doesn't he lie? He doesn't want to lie. Why does he exist as Trinity? Your God is that bitch from the Matrix? Fair enough, because he wants to be. Your God wants to be that bitch from the Matrix. Um, but that's such a fucking cop out. Like, my God doesn't lie because he doesn't want to lie. Um, then you go on to make a small, I'd say small note, but it's actually bigger than the point itself about how a lot of people will argue that a that an omnipotent deity doesn't work because omnipotence is self-defeating. You are not omnipotent if you can create a rock you cannot lift because you cannot lift it. But if you cannot create that rock, you are also not omnipotent because you cannot make a rock so heavy you cannot lift it. Honestly, I, as a person who has been an atheist for several years, and has understood all of these arguments, honestly, I've tried to wrap my head around shit like this for so long. It doesn't work. That argument is so stupid. I mean, sure, it'd be funny, right? And by the way, that is not how you say it, right? It's not a rock you cannot lift, right? Okay, hear me out. Can God make a burrito so hot that he can't eat it? That's the question, man. Um. Anyway, so yeah, I admit that that is stupid. But again, you're strawmanning this shit. You know who uses that? You know who says that? Small children. Small children say that, not actual atheists in a fucking debate with a Christian. Nobody's stupid enough to do that because they know it's a self-defeating argument. Because here you go on to be like, oh, it just means that there's no power greater. No, right. It's not even a self-defeating argument. It's just stupid. It is a stupid argument. It works to say omnipotence isn't possible, but it's just stupid to even have to get to that point. And if you execute it well and use it as like a starting thing, just to trick them into saying something stupid, fair enough. And if you use it to trick them into slipping up and saying something really retarded, perfectly fine, right? But as it stands, it's just not a good argument, and nobody will actually use it seriously against a Christian other than to say omnipotence doesn't work. Now, here, here is how you break down the Christian and the Judeo-Christian God. Um, God is described in the Bible as being both omnipotent and omnibenevolent. In other words, he is all-powerful and all-merciful. There is suffering in the world, therefore God lets suffering happen because he is omnipotent, but allows it to continue happening, therefore he is not omnibenevolent. However, if he is omnibenevolent, then that means he is not omnipotent because he is aware of the suffering in the world but cannot fix it. Your God doesn't work. That is how you fucking break down the Christian God. Not with, can he make a rock so heavy he can't lift it? No, of course he can't. It doesn't exist. Right. Number 4. So it is already breaking me down. I'm only less than halfway through these, but there's only 2 more points in this video. Believing in God is the same as believing in the Tooth Fairy, Santa Claus, and the Flying Spaghetti Monster. Before I proceed, you spelled Santa Claus with an E. For those of you who aren't aware, Santa Claus is not spelled with an E unless you're talking about the Tim Allen movie, The Santa Claus, in which case it's spelled with an E because it's referring to the last line of a contract, which is the clause. If you rewatch the movie, that is directly pointed out and referenced. If you look at the cover of the movie, the E is written in a slightly different font to show that it is not meant to be there. Santa Claus is not spelled with an E. Now that I've got that little mini rant out of the way, we can continue with me pointing out why this person is stupid. I'm not even going to bother reading most of these out as quotes. Essentially, they're just saying there is historical things, geographical things. There are martyrs that existed, all of which point to there being a backing behind the Judeo-Christian belief in God. And the Tooth Fairy, Santa Claus, and the Flying Spaghetti Monster do not have those. Now, I'm going to say this. Oh, and there is a straw man argument. Now, here's what I'm going to say, though. You are using a straw man argument by saying that this is what people say. You are a straw man argumentation. This point is a straw man. Because I would personally only use things like the Tooth Fairy and Santa Claus in this context if I were saying things like, I am agnostic in the same way that I am agnostic about Tooth Fairy or Santa Claus, right? I cannot disprove that these things exist somewhere, but that doesn't mean I have to believe in them, right? And it's significantly more likely that they don't exist. So, sure, there could be a Santa Claus, just not on Earth, or maybe he's not magic. Maybe he's just not the one we described him as. He could still exist in some form somewhere, right? I feel the same way about the idea of a god. I'm not going to believe that it is a thing that exists. I'm just going to say that it's a thing that could exist, but probably doesn't, and your God definitely doesn't, because your God is contradictory, and the Bible doesn't make sense and is not true. Okay, right. I will point out, however, that if there was a small group of people that legitimately believed in, let's say, the Flying Spaghetti Monster, believed that he was actually real and was their God, and they became a popular religion, just like Christianity did, and existed for several thousand years, and had a number of holy books written, right? And and it was taken as seriously as Christianity. Let's say you literally went back in time and replaced Christianity with the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster with Postfarianism, right? It would literally have the same effect as it does now. Sure, it would be more absurd, but let's say that people didn't take it that way. Right now, we would be arguing, you would be saying the Flying Spaghetti Monster exists, and that old man in the sky-ism doesn't, right? That's a ridiculous claim. I feel the need to point this out. That if the situation were reversed, it'd be the same fucking thing. And you'd be arguing about how there's no evidence of this old magic man that made humans, and there's no martyrs that died in his name and any of that shit. But now let me direct you towards an actual, real example of a religion that contends with yours. Why? Right? Here's a real, functional version of this argument. Believing in God is the same as believing in Thor, Odin, Loki. I'm only listing off Norse gods for some reason. I forgot the names of the other ones. Poseidon, Zeus, Hades, Ra, Horus, any number of gods from any number of ancient religions. All of them, granted, most of them are so long gone that there are no real documentation of them. But I can guarantee that people, probably people who have been extremely fictionalized at this point, in the same way that most of the stuff in the Bible has, like Jesus, who may have existed as a real person but has been very fictionalized by this point, they may have existed. They've just been drastically altered. Maybe there was a Hercules, a guy who did some shit, but he's not the Hercules from Legends. Number 5, right? This is the last one for this video. Hopefully this will come out today. The next one will come out, on New Year's Day. So this is the last one for this video, more than likely, because this video is coming up to half an hour long. So I'll actually, I'll probably upload this and the next one together as one video as well um after I upload the next one. I'll probably I don't know, upload both of them edited together and maybe cut out the ending from this one. Okay, 5. Christianity arose from an ancient and ignorant people who didn't have science. Okay, this is true. This is fact, right? Everything you say from here on out is a load of bullshit. And I'm going to start out by reading a direct quote from the beginning until it gets boring, and then I'm going to point out why you're stupid. Indeed, those ancient ignorant people who believed in in the virgin birth of Christ must have believed it because they did not possess the knowledge of how babies were born. Goodness, the virgin birth of Christ was profound and of paramount concern to the ancients precisely because they understood that conception was impossible without intercourse. Ancient man considered the virgin birth miraculous, i.e., impossible without divine action, and at the time, most people scorned the idea. And the same could be said with every miraculous story in Scripture. Okay, right. I'm gonna point this out right now. It doesn't take a fucking genius to figure out that you need sex to make babies. Okay? Um, we've known that for so much longer than the Bible existed. That's not the science they're talking about. For example, how in Genesis it says that the sun and the stars are different things, or how it says the moon makes light in the same way the sun does, even though the moon just reflects light. Uh, Basically, what I'm trying to get at here is the things you're saying. That's not what they're talking about, right? And I think you know this. I think you understand this, which annoys me more than anything else. That you know what they mean. You're just actively going against it. You're actively picking something else. Okay, I'm skipping the next paragraph because it doesn't really say much. Again, I'm going to link this in the description. You can look at this and, I don't know, post your own criticisms of it if you want. I'm not going to stop you. Um, I encourage you to. If you have any points that I can bring up in further rebuttal that I missed here, please do so. And if you have anything you can say against what I said, please. If you have any criticisms of my views on this, let me know. Because I want to correct that shit. But anyway, I'm gonna try my best to finish this up because I really need to use the bathroom. Um, um, right. In terms of a living relationship with these things, the ancients were far more advanced than we are today. Oh, fucking really. And this relationship is essentially the nature of religious inquiry. If people lack religious speculation today, maybe it is because they spend more time with their iPhones and Macs than with nature. Maybe. Okay, right, this has been annoying me since I first read through this before I first skimmed this to see what we were going to be arguing about here. Right, come look at this yourselves if you have the link, and you have the page up. Point 5, third paragraph, last line. They used the wrong then. It's supposed to be THAN, than with nature. But they put EN, then with nature. It's really irritating. But anyway, right. I'm gonna try and explain this. I could make up any bullshit I want right now, call it a religion, type it out in a fucking Word document, print it. I could write it if I want, but my handwriting is really bad because I have like dyslexia or something, so I cannot write for shit. I have really poor motor controls, so I probably have to print it, but or put it on the internet. But the thing is, any claims I make could instantly be Googled and refuted, right? Have you considered that it's not that people lack religious speculation, it's that those iPhones and Macs. Who the fuck owns a Mac? I don't think I know anybody with. I know one person with a Mac. Everybody else I know owns a PC, and the guy with a Mac also owns a laptop that runs Windows. So, what the fuck are you on about Macs? Who the fuck owns a Mac? But anyway, with your iPhones and computing devices, um, you could just literally fucking Google anything that I say, any claim I make, and point out why it's wrong. So, yeah, I think I'm gonna end this one at the stage because I'm getting sick of listening to it. I need to take a break for a couple of minutes, maybe get something to drink. Uh, but essentially, anyone can make up a religion whenever they want, but only now could they Google the things being said and quickly disprove them and not let them spread. So it's coming up to 35 minutes now. I will end it here, and hopefully this will go up today, and I will see you on New Year's Day with part 2.